Welcome. We are here today. Make sure you have your notebook, pencil, or paper, pens to take notes, and we're going to begin. So today we're going to be talking about radical equations and how do we end up solving simple equations with radicals. And some of you are familiar with the radical symbol. We call it the square root. So if we see this symbol, which is also known as a square root, it is also a radical. So I'm going to write that down. So if we have a square root, the inverse of a square root is a square. Similar, when I have the 3, and you guys have seen this in Algebra 1, if I have that 3 right there, that is a cube root, right? So the inverse of a cube root is a cube. So when we're dealing with these simple equations, these are some steps that you can use to solve. The first step you're going to end up using is isolate the radical. So make sure that is the first step you end up doing. It will help you leaving the radical by itself. So always question yourself, how can I isolate this radical? The second step, step number 2, is to eliminate the radical. And then step number 3, isolate the variable. You want to solve the problem as much as possible. So these are the 3 steps. We're going to isolate, we're going to eliminate the radical, and then the last thing is isolate the variable. Okay. So let's look at some examples. So our first example we have here is the square root of x equals 9. And we just mentioned that if we have the square root, the inverse of a square root is to square both sides. We're going to square both sides. So whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So let's do that right now. So here we are. We squared both sides. So once I square, then on the left side, we're just left with the variable x because the square root and the square cancel out. And then what is 9 squared? 9 squared, remember, is 9 times 9, which is 81. Let's look at the next example. We have the cube root of x equals 5. And what did we say the inverse of a cube root is? Is we cube both sides. So then cube root over cube, we're just left with our variable x, and 5 cubed is 125. 5 times 5 times 5. You remember you can use decimals to be able to do our exponents if you need help with that. Another example, on the bottom left, we're going to end up, we have a 4. Now, in front of that radical, we have this 4 right there, right? So the way that I can do that would be just like what we did before with the cube and the square root. We'll just take it to what power? To the 4th power. Okay. And so now we have that x is equal to the 4th. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16, so 2 to the 4th is 16. X to the 1/3 now. Oh, we haven't had that. So just to let you know, x to the 1/3 is the same thing as having the cube root of x. So these two are the same thing. And so if we have to the 1/3, the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3. So we do the same thing. We take it to the 3rd power. And now we have that x equals 4 to the 3rd power, which is 4 times 4, 16 times 4 is 64. So when you have a fraction, just take the reciprocal. Like in our last case, we have x to the 3/5. What is the reciprocal? Remember, reciprocal is where you flip the 3/5 and you write 5/3. So it'd be to the 5/3. So then x would equal 1 to the 5. So x equals 1 to the 5/3 power, which is 4. You have a couple problems similar to these. So if you have any questions, feel free to email. We'll see you. Take care. Have a great day.